Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 365, A Scare to Remember. The episode begins with Ash and the gang walking down a path in the woods on the journey to Lily Cove, but very close to the ferry port in Lily Cove City, where they had to go in order to get to Moss Deep City for Ash's 7th gym badge. Pikachu seemed very happy today. It was so energetic that it was even walking ahead of Ash and the gang. Suddenly, the earth beneath Ash and the gang and Pikachu starts to rumble like an earthquake, and this causes a tree to fall down, and it was about to fall directly on Pikachu. Unfortunately, Pikachu just had no time to escape, and the tree crashed down on it, causing a huge cloud of dust, leading Ash to panic, thinking Pikachu was probably dead. But before he could check and at least find Pikachu's body, the dust cleared, and it was revealed that Team Rocket had caused this rumbling with their mech, and had actually captured Pikachu in their mech in one of the claws before the tree fell down on him. So at least Pikachu was alive, but Ash was still mad that Team Rocket had captured him in their mech, which Team Rocket came out of their mech and announced as the mean and nasty Grumpy Grabber Mark 1. Team Rocket then did their motto with the help of Wobbuffet and Chimecho, who popped out, as Ash scolded Team Rocket for trying to take Pikachu a fucking again, and assumed that Pikachu's Thunderbolt wouldn't work, because they probably had an electric-proof mech, as usual, but he decided to have Pikachu use Thunderbolt anyways, and sure enough, it failed. May and Max were actually shocked by this, though, as they assumed that this vehicle would be not electricity resistant, because it looked like it was made out of metal. But Team Rocket just laughed, taunting Ash and the gang, stating that that was part of their plan. They had made their machine look like it was made out of metal, but it was actually made with a bunch of insulated recyclable materials mixed in with a bunch of rubber hoses. Knowing that Thunderbolt didn't work, Ash and the gang rushed up to the mech, but Team Rocket had dug a hole, so they laughed when Ash and the gang simply just fell into it, causing another huge cloud of dust. Team Rocket weren't laughing for long, though, as soon their mech started sinking into the soft sand, starting with one of the legs. Jesse and James questioned why this was happening, but Meowth knew that it was because the material that it was made out of had been recycled too many times, so basically the material was too shit. Team Rocket thought that they could save the mech if they just put all their weight on the other side. They basically thought that they put too much weight on one side, since they were standing on that side, and Pikachu was captured on that side, so they tried to redirect the weight to stop the mech from sinking, but this just causes that leg to get stuck in the ground as opposed to the other one, and when this leg started to get too low, Team Rocket ran to the other side to try and lift that one up, and basically they just kept repeating the same process over and over and over and over, running from side to side repeatedly, and this just caused the legs to continue to get wedged in the ground, and soon they got so stuck that they couldn't come out. And to make matters worse, all of Team Rocket's running caused the mech to start crumbling, and then it exploded. The explosion didn't just blast off Team Rocket, though. It was so big that it blasted off Ash and the gang and Pikachu as well. Obviously Pikachu, because, he was still captured by the mech, but it blasted off Ash and the gang from inside the hole, and this caused everyone to get separated, as they all landed in different places. The last two in the air were Ash and Pikachu, and they were far apart from each other, so Ash tried his best to grab Pikachu desperately while in the air, but Pikachu was too light, so he fell faster than Ash did, so Ash wasn't able to reclaim him, and they both landed in separate areas in the woods, and upon landing, Ash and the gang were all knocked out. A bit later, they all came to, with Ash waking up first, followed by Max, followed by May, followed by Brock. And they all realized that they must have passed out after being blasted away after Team Rocket's mech exploded. Before Ash can fully recall the entire situation, he immediately sees all his friends hanging with him in a tree. They were now stuck in a tree, and he asked if they were all alright, which they all confirmed, although they were obviously not very comfortable being stuck in a tree, caught by their backpacks. However, Ash then thought for a few moments, and remembered the whole situation where he got separated from Pikachu and had failed to catch him. So he frantically searched around the tree for Pikachu, looking around for him, but he of course couldn't find him. Pikachu was gone. Max was still having trouble even remembering what happened, so he asked May and had to get May to explain it to him, while Ash tried his best to desperately get free from the tree to try and find Pikachu, but he was stuck, as was everyone else. Meanwhile, James, Jesse, and Wobbuffet had landed face first against a tree. Of course, due to gravity, they all fall off a bit, including Wobbuffet, although Wobbuffet falls off last. He was actually able to fight against gravity for a little bit somehow, and stay on the tree for a bit longer. Anyways, upon landing on the ground, Jesse and James realized that Meowth was missing, so James initially suggested that they look for Meowth, because he may be lost, but Jesse retorted that Meowth always messed shit up, so it was probably best that they just leave him behind forever and just go back to their Meowth balloon, or maybe even Team Rocket HQ to get a new member. Somehow, as James talks about all the memories they had with Meowth, he manages to convince Jesse to go with him to find Meowth anyways, but as they do, they quickly get lost in the forest. Meanwhile, Pikachu and Meowth had landed in a grassy meadow together. And they were pretty together. I mean, Pikachu had currently landed on Meowth's head and was sitting on him. Even though Pikachu jumps off Meowth's head, Meowth still panics upon seeing Pikachu and calls for Jesse and James to come help him, but he saw that no one was around. Pikachu slowly greets Meowth, although Meowth doesn't fall for this nice greeting, thinking it was a trick, as he continues to call for Jesse and James, but no cigar. Meowth still feared that Pikachu would attack him, and started to try and throw the ball in his court as best he could, by threatening Pikachu about what he would do to him if he did shock him, and talking about how much he hated him and Ash and the gang and all that, and after saying all this, it was revealed he was just buying time, hoping that Jesse and James would show up, as he called for them again, trying to inform them that he's captured it, because maybe he thought that they wouldn't come out unless he had captured a Pokemon or something, and they still didn't come out. Meowth panicked that Pikachu was about to shock him, but much to Meowth's surprise, Pikachu was just standing next to Meowth like he didn't even know him, and after multiple more seconds, the same thing happened. Meowth assumed that Pikachu was perhaps just playing dumb, and warned him not to mess with Team Rocket as he dives at him for a scratch attack. However, Meowth realizes that Pikachu still wasn't fighting back, and was just standing there doing nothing still, so he stopped himself from attacking just in time, even if that meant he fell flat on his face. Meowth then translated Pikachu, asking Meowth what the fuck he was doing, trying to attack him. This led Meowth to theorize that perhaps Pikachu wanted to reason with Meowth, and perhaps join Team Rocket, like in the Orange Islands, that one time, when they'd gotten separated from the others. Meowth then translates something else from Pikachu, though, which is that Pikachu had no clue where he should be, who he is, and where he was, or where his trainer was, for that matter, leading Meowth to realize that Pikachu had seemingly developed amnesia. Because of this, Meowth claimed that he was going to help Pikachu remember his memories, when in reality, he was just going to fill Pikachu's head with false memories about him being with Team Rocket, and how he's been with Team Rocket since the day he was born, and how much bullshit he's been through. And Meowth went into fantasy mode when he realized that he could trick Pikachu into believing he was with Giovanni. So, Meowth made up a lie that he was Pikachu's old friend from a long time ago, and was going to do everything in his power to help return him to his trainer, Giovanni, since an epic surprise was being planned for him. Of course, Meowth doesn't make Pikachu aware of this, but anyways, he then goes on and on, making up a lie that Pikachu had been with Team Rocket since the day he was born. Pikachu believed Meowth, and therefore, Meowth decided to fully indoctrinate Pikachu as a member of Team Rocket, and taught him the whole motto and all the poses, reenacting the motto. And it was such fleshed out instruction that it was like Meowth had taught it before. Meowth then starts fake crying when he tells Pikachu how much they've been through together, and what they did with their partners, Jessie and James. Pikachu was of course intrigued by Jessie and James, so Meowth offered to take Pikachu to them, hoping that once he saw Jessie and James, Pikachu would get his memory jarring, even though he was just hoping seeing Jessie and James would corroborate his false memories. So, Meowth officially declared that he was going to take Pikachu to Jessie and James so he could learn the evil ways of Team Rocket once again. Meanwhile, back with Ash and the gang, they had managed to get unstuck from the tree, and Ash sent out Swallow to do an aerial search for Pikachu, and Brock sent out Mudkip to search for Pikachu as well, since Mudkip's fin could detect things from far away. Ash really fucking hoped that Swallow and Mudkip would be able to find Pikachu. Meanwhile, as for Jessie and James, they were still calling for Meowth, searching for him now, after James had convinced Jessie, separated from everybody else. Though Jessie was definitely getting frustrated with the calling. Meanwhile, Pikachu and Meowth were walking down a path. As they both walked happily, Meowth talked to himself about how excited he was to catch Pikachu after so many plans, and how excited he was to be promoted by Giovanni. While Meowth was all zoned out though, Pikachu heard some rustling in the bushes, so they both freezed, scared, when suddenly a very scared-looking Zigzagoon came out of the bushes and cowered behind Pikachu in fear, insinuating that it must have been getting chased by something, and Meowth and Pikachu soon see what this was, as they see a Beedrill that must have been attacking Zigzagoon follow Zigzagoon out of the bushes. Beedrill then goes to attack Meowth, Pikachu, and Zigzagoon, so Meowth cowers behind Pikachu and Zigzagoon, and Pikachu, on the other hand, actually fights back, using a Thunderbolt to scare off the Beedrill as it flies away. Once Beedrill was gone, Zigzagoon left as well, happy that it was safe, and Meowth was happy that he was safe as well. Although, even though he acknowledged that Pikachu sure did save him and was very kind, he got worried about becoming actual friends with Pikachu, and what would happen if he managed to become Pikachu's friend by the time they arrived at Giovanni. He may not be willing to give Pikachu up to him. Meowth was kind of feeling conflicted. On one hand, he valued the praise that he would get and the promotion he would get from Giovanni if he brought in Pikachu, but he also valued Pikachu's friendship if Pikachu would be willing to save him all the time. And he knew that Pikachu would likely not like being under Giovanni's ownership, so that could ruin their friendship. But despite how conflicted he was, Meowth eventually settled on using Pikachu's kindness to take advantage of him so that Meowth could help him on their way to Giovanni, and he would also give it to Giovanni. Without further ado, Pikachu and Meowth continued on to what Meowth claimed was the base. Who knows where that really was. Meanwhile, Jessie and James were still walking and searching for Meowth along the river. Eventually, when Meowth didn't respond to any of their calls still, Jessie came to the conclusion that Meowth may have been hiding from them, or some shit, and theorized that he could be kind of mad at them for their failure, and could have went to a nearby Team Rocket hideout lodge somewhere in the area. James, however, on the more optimistic side, suggested that if Meowth did go back to the hideout lodge, maybe he was just hiding out from Ash and the gang. Although, James also pointed out that if Meowth was hiding, he would probably just be hiding in some bushes, not a fucking hideout lodge, since that hideout lodge actually wasn't nearby. It was farther away, at least according to him, though Jessie didn't believe this. Meanwhile, Meowth and Pikachu were walking through the edge of a cliff that was very, very narrow, with Pikachu not scared at all, but Meowth utterly terrified. To distract himself, Meowth started to lie to Pikachu again, telling Pikachu even though Meowth was utterly opposed to the idea of being too nice to anyone, he realized that he should probably pretend like he had been really nice to Pikachu before, since Pikachu was super nice, and he wanted to make it believable that the two would be friends. So, Meowth tells Pikachu that he saved his life once by nursing him when Pikachu had a fever, and adds that he was basically Pikachu's mentor and was with him 24/7. And because of this, he tried to get Pikachu to show his appreciation for him, and suggested he join the Meowth fan club. hoping that this would fully cement Pikachu's place in Team Rocket. But as Meowth was requesting this, he almost fell from the cliff as the ground crumbled beneath him because he stepped on a weak part of the cliff. But Pikachu grabbed Meowth by the tail at the last second and tried to pull him back up, eventually being successful. Meanwhile, back with Ash and the gang, using its fin, Mudkip seemed to have detected something to the right. So Ash and the gang follow it to the right, and Mudkip eventually leads them to a whole bunch of footprints in a field. And they noticed that there are 3 different tracks of footprints, and they were all easily able to be recognized. Ash, of course, easily recognized Pikachu's footprints, and Brock recognized, due to being an expert on footprints, Meowth footprints and Zigzagoon footprints, insinuating that this was the spot where Pikachu, Meowth, and Zigzagoon must have been when they encountered that Beedrill earlier. Seeing Meowth tracks, Ash and the gang panicked, knowing that Pikachu and Meowth must have been together, and Pikachu may have been captured by Meowth. Meanwhile, back with Pikachu and Meowth, Meowth had eventually come to a pond with Pikachu, and he sat on the edge of it, looking down at his reflection, and wondering how he would find Jessie and James and make it to the Team Rocket base that he thought was nearby, the same one that Jessie had talked about, because he figured that he was actually pretty far away, since the explosion could have knocked him halfway across Hoenn with Pikachu. Meowth got so frustrated that he eventually started to feel hungry, so Pikachu decided to help out Meowth, seeing that he was frustrated, and tried to get rid of that frustration by offering him a fresh apple that he went away to go find. Seeing Pikachu again relieved Meowth, because when he realized that Pikachu had left him, he kind of thought that Pikachu was gone, so that added to his bad mood as well. But now that Pikachu was back with an apple nonetheless, even though he was surprised, he was very grateful, and he gladly thanked Pikachu, taking the apple. However, Meowth soon learned from Pikachu that there was only one apple, but Pikachu was giving it to him anyways. So Meowth felt the need to do something nice for Pikachu, remembering that Pikachu had split the apple with him last time they were stranded together. So Meowth split the apple in 2, to give one half to Pikachu and one half to Meowth, so that they could both have some. Unfortunately, Meowth did a poor job splitting the apple and made one half bigger than the other. However, he decided to be a nice guy, calling himself a gentle Meowth instead of a gentleman, as he offered Pikachu the bigger half of the apple as opposed to the smaller one, stating that things were better when they shared them with others. Still trying to act as Pikachu's mentor. Meanwhile, Ash and the gang, with Mudkip in the lead, had been following the footprints and had now reached the cliff that Pikachu had saved Meowth on. The first revelation that was pretty obvious that everyone came to, or at least they thought was obvious, was that Meowth must have been chasing Pikachu, since their footprints went on together, but the Zigzagoons left. Even though Ash and the gang didn't fully realize that Pikachu was actually willingly going with Meowth, Rock did notice how the footprints seemed relatively organized and next to each other, and it didn't look like Pikachu was trying to struggle or fight back against Meowth or anything like that, which would indicate that he was willingly going with Meowth, but Brock fully didn't come to that conclusion yet. As Ash promised to find Pikachu again, Swellow was flying over an area and happened to see Pikachu and Meowth walking up a path on a steep bank, and instantly went back to Ash to report this. Anyways, as Meowth and Pikachu were walking along the path, Meowth started to feel guilty for capturing Pikachu after everything nice that Pikachu had done for it. Just then, though, Pikachu lost his balance and fell backwards down the path, which was also down a cliff, because the path, as I'm sure you can see by the picture, was on the side of a cliff. But before Pikachu can fall down, Meowth catches him and saves him, making Pikachu very happy, as Meowth simply claims that he was returning the favor for Pikachu saving him, and they move onwards, trying their best to make it to the Team Rocket base. And speaking of the Team Rocket base, even though James thought that it was extremely far away, him and Jessie actually managed to get to the base, which is basically a small wooden cabin with a Team Rocket symbol on it, and it looked pretty damaged, indicating that it hadn't been used in quite a while. Jessie and James instantly went inside the base, hoping that Meowth was in there, although they soon found out that he wasn't in there, and debated if they should go in and look for him outside of the base again, or just stay in the base and rest. And it was at that moment that Swellow, which was on its way back to Ash, spotted Team Rocket entering the base, and therefore sped back to Ash even faster, with even more news to report now. He now had Pikachu and Meowth's location to report, and Jessie and James's. Soon after Team Rocket had entered the base, Meowth, closely followed by Pikachu, arrived, thinking that Jessie and James may be at the base, and they instantly called for them, and sure enough, Jessie and James came out, very excited to see Meowth, but get scared when they see that Pikachu happened to recognize Team Rocket at least a little bit, and instinctively got ready to use Thunderbolt on them, but Meowth blocked Pikachu, and lied to it that Jessie and James were actually his friends, basically trying to get him to believe his lie again, and begged him to not shock them. Pikachu just sits there confused, not knowing what to believe, giving Meowth the opportunity to go up to the also confused Jessie and James, who were questioning why Meowth was calling Pikachu their friend, so basically Meowth went up to them and whispered the situation. James was confused as to how Pikachu had developed amnesia, and almost stated this out loud, though Meowth quickly covered his mouth to shut him up, not wanting James to reveal to Pikachu that he did have amnesia, and he basically told James his plan to get Pikachu on their side, since he wouldn't know any better. Meanwhile, Mudkip was still helping search for Pikachu, and they were all following Pikachu and Meowth's footprints, Ash and the gang were anyways, when suddenly Mudkip's fin turned to the side, indicating that it sensed something. What it sensed wasn't Meowth or Pikachu though, but instead Swellow, as it appeared to finally inform Ash of what it had found. And Swellow then leads Ash to the Team Rocket base. Meanwhile, back at the Team Rocket base, Meowth was working to assure Pikachu that Jessie and James were his friends, and although Pikachu was skeptical at first, Jessie and James then did their best to persuade Pikachu that they were his friends. by poking and prodding at him, pointing out how cute he was, introducing themselves, and warmly welcoming Pikachu to Team Rocket. Pikachu seemed to trust Jessie and James now, believing Meowth first lies, as it jumps on James' shoulder to show its affection to James. James gets a bit nervous at this, knowing that Pikachu could thunderbolt him at any moment, but he eventually calms down, knowing that if Pikachu was up on his shoulder, then it clearly wasn't going to shock him, since it must like him now. And he also comments on how much heavier Pikachu had got since the last time it had been on his shoulder, which was only at one time, back in like Kanto or some shit, by accident. Pikachu grew fond of Jessie as well, and Jessie and James immediately went into fantasy mode as they played with Pikachu, utterly overjoyed at the fact that Pikachu had now officially joined them. Just then, though, this fantasy was interrupted as Ash and the gang arrived at Team Rocket's base. As soon as Pikachu heard Ash and the gang approaching, it turned around and noted that they looked familiar as well, though couldn't put his finger on it. Ash was surprised to see Pikachu free, expecting that he would have been captured by Team Rocket again, and tells it to come back to him, stating that he'd been very worried about it, and was very glad to have it back. But when Pikachu just stood there, not coming back to him, looking confused, Ash questioned if Pikachu had forgot him or something. It was then that Meowth butt in and told Pikachu that he had nothing to remember about Ash and the gang, aside from the fact that they were going to hurt him. So basically, he was trying to mess with Pikachu's mind and make it seem like Ash and the gang were the enemies. Ash tries to deny this and tells Pikachu to come back to him, but Meowth simply says that Ash was a liar, and since Pikachu trusted Meowth more at this point, even though it did take him a while of thinking about who to trust and looking back and forth about Ash and gang Team Rocket, he sides with Team Rocket and immediately runs over to them. Although he ran over decently slow, showing a bit of hesitation, but this still shocked Ash to the point where he was speechless, as Team Rocket then did their motto with both Meowth and Pikachu jumping in at the end. Max was shocked that Pikachu had seemingly joined Team Rocket and switched sides, especially quickly. However, Ash believed that it was because Pikachu had forgotten him somehow and tried to remind him that they were friends, also telling him to attack Team Rocket with a Thunderbolt, hoping that that would jog his memory. Pikachu just glares at Ash in response, and when Ash tells Pikachu that he didn't belong in Team Rocket, he just glared at Ash some more, not trusting him, making Jessie laugh. James then got the idea to have Pikachu use Thunderbolt, believing that Pikachu would listen to him, and sure enough, Pikachu did listen, knocking Ash back and basically electrocuting him. Ash was immensely shocked, not just physically but mentally, as to why Pikachu wasn't remembering him, as he knew that this was the case but didn't understand why, as Meowth then ordered Pikachu to use a Thunderbolt as well, and Pikachu obliged, attacking Ash once more, sending him flying back, although he managed to struggle to his feet once more. Upon seeing all this, Brock eventually came to the conclusion that Pikachu had amnesia after what had happened, as he remembered what happened when Pikachu was last on their side, when him and Ash got separated, knowing that it must have been because of Team Rocket's mech exploding and the resulting chaos that Pikachu must have hit its head on the ground when it landed and lost its memory. Team Rocket adamantly denied this, though, suggesting that Pikachu was just sick of Ash and the gang, and it wanted freedom. Although Ash and the gang knew this wasn't true, so Team Rocket actually came up with a different thing, which was that they'd actually brainwash Pikachu to make it theirs, so that they at least seemed like they had some involvement. Team Rocket then runs into their base, which explodes and transforms into their Meowth balloon, and they fly off with Pikachu and Meowth. Ash was fucking done with Team Rocket's bullshit by this point, and just wanted to save Pikachu, so he managed to grab onto the balloon's basket before it flew away entirely, and now he was hanging onto the basket in the air. Max and Brock were both shocked and worried because of Ash's reckless behavior, and they immediately ran after the Meowth balloon, as Ash managed to climb in, determined to take on Team Rocket. James didn't panic though, as he just realized that he could just order Ash's Pikachu to shock Ash, although James was so excited to order Pikachu to use Thunderbolt on him that he had forgotten that they were in the Meowth balloon, and if Pikachu used it, it would both send the balloon crashing down and shock Team Rocket as well. But it was too late, as James ordered the Thunderbolt, blasting Team Rocket off, and making Ash and Pikachu fall to the ground. Right before Ash and Pikachu fell to the ground, though, Ash managed to catch Pikachu just in time, but right as he did, he realized how far they were falling, and was panicking. Brock, May, and Max ran after Ash, trying to catch him and Pikachu, but they couldn't, as Ash and Pikachu had fallen an extremely far distance, not just down, but forward, and now they were heading straight for a river. At least Ash had managed to just barely grab Pikachu, but they made a huge splash when they both landed in the river and started to drift through it. Immediately upon landing in the water, although Ash did eventually pass out, before he did, he remembered all of his adventures with Pikachu since they arrived in Hoenn, as well as some of their gym battles, particularly remembering Pikachu battling Roxanne's Nosepass and Norman's Vigoroth. Ash also recalled fighting against Norman in his entirety and fighting against Roxanne in her entirety, as well as the referees of the battle, including Norman's assistant Kenny. Ash then declared to Pikachu that the two of them would be friends for all eternity, no matter what, as he finally passed out, remembering winning the Stone Badge and Balance Badge. Eventually, Ash came to on shore, having washed up on shore from the stream. It seems as though Pikachu had passed out in the water as well, and due to passing out for the second time, this reversed its amnesia, as it now remembered Ash, and licked him and examined him, poking and prodding at him to wake him up, with a final lick on the face, having done a job. As soon as Ash woke up, he realized Pikachu now remembered him, as Pikachu smiled at him, and the two hugged, and Ash cried as he hugged Pikachu out of pure happiness that they were now on good terms again. Although Ash was admittedly shocked that Pikachu had suddenly got back its memories so quickly, although he hypothesized that it wasn't just because Pikachu was knocked out a second time, but because Pikachu could have been grateful for Ash saving it, and that helped it jog its memories back. As Ash and Pikachu were hugging, Brock, May, and Max finally caught up, and were relieved to see that the two were okay and on good terms again. As Ash and Pikachu smiled at each other, confirming that they were friends again, suddenly, Team Rocket had blasted off right down into the same stream, and at first, they were very excited to see Pikachu, and we're gonna try and get him back on their side again, questioning why he was back with Ash. But before Team Rocket could question anything, they merely just asked Ash and the gang to help them as best they could, since they realized they couldn't swim and were drowning. But Ash simply said that Team Rocket should help themselves, and Rockman and Max added that they shouldn't dare ask for their help anymore, as they knew that Team Rocket would just fuck them over in the end, and Ash and Pikachu used Thunderbolt to send Team Rocket blasting off, surprising them at the fact that Pikachu was no longer on their side. Team Rocket, still in denial at the fact that Pikachu was no longer on their side, questioned how this could be, as they tried to convince Pikachu to join their side again. But when Pikachu obviously couldn't hear them, and they realized that he would have refused anyways, they realized that Pikachu must have got his memory back somehow. With Team Rocket gone, Brock states his belief that he was grateful everyone was reunited again, as May commented that it was times like Ash being separated from Pikachu that made her realize that you should appreciate your friends while you were with them and could remember each other. Ash then promised Pikachu that he would never lose him again, and that they would be friends forever, and Pikachu smiled, promising that he would try not to get lost from Ash ever again, and confirmed that they would be friends forever, as they all headed off into Lily Cove City. Very, very close.